When you open up Final Cut, what you'll notice is your top folder is something called library, and all of your assets for a project live in that library. And if you move the library, it will move all of the assets. Below this is what is called an event. And you can further organize a project into different events. Let's say I recorded different organists. I could, for the AGO project, have a different event for each organist. That would make things much easier to organize. Then you have the different projects. And here I've started organizing all of my work for this series of videos. And you'll also notice that MultiCam 1, 2, and 3, these are different edits of one project. And it's a very good idea that if you work on a project that you basically save different versions as you go along, because you might change something and want to go back to it. Then these are the different types of media that you have. These are audio files. These are something called MultiCam clips, which we will go over. These are video clips. These are different photographs that I took for the project. Importing the media. You connect your media with a card reader to your computer. You insert it. Click here. You'll notice that this is a card from one of the video cameras. And typically you'd have several different files here. And then you can direct where you want the media to be imported to. Organization is so important in doing video production and being very careful as to where you put the media so you can find it, because you will at times have many different files and you need to have them very carefully organized. So you would click here, you would import it, and then it would be entered into here. Okay, let's go over the different windows in Final Cut. There are three major windows. Your clip window, your inspector. Right now it shows nothing to inspect, but let me put something in there so you can inspect it. So there you have something in the inspector. And then you have your timeline where you do your editing. So those are the three major areas of the Final Cut window. And to make life easier, you can turn them on and off by clicking on these three buttons to give yourself more real estate. The other thing that's nice is you can drag them to move them around to give yourself more space. Let's say I wanted to add some more information to this. So what I can do is I can skim through some of the video. And I can put an in using I, and then I can put an out using O. Now, down here, you have different places where you can put the video. So I'm going to use this one, which is just Command E, and see how it just added it to the storyline. Well, we're going to take it out of there because it doesn't belong there. But this is the way you would go through and you would pick the takes that you want and assemble them in the timeline. Next, I would like to show the selection tools. Once you have content in the timeline, this is where you do your editing and your manipulation. So this is a recording I did of Indira's Freude. I made a mistake. Stop playing right in here. I picked it up again, basically took this space out, and then the recording works. So you can hear the mistake. I want to take that out. You'll also notice that I put markers here, and these are very, very useful because you can deploy them very precisely when you're doing editing. Let's say I'm listening here and I want to put a marker in. All you do is you just hit the M key. Here I sort of said where my edit should be. So the tool that I use most is just the plain old select tool, because it allows you to slide things back and forth in the timeline. If I take this and move it to this point, I believe the edit is sort of correct. And let's just have a quick little listen. It's not correct, but let's just say it is. There are a few other very good tools that come in very handy, and they're found here. And there are shortcuts for these. And one of them is to basically to zoom in on the timeline. And you use that a lot. The keyboard command is Command plus sign and subtraction sign. Then you also can choose how you want to look at the clip. Typically, if I'm doing audio editing, I want to look at it just in the waveform because I want to get the musical editing correct first. Then you also can expand it, which makes it easier to do editing. One other item that comes in very handy, which is a little hard to find, is some of the keys that allow you to move slowly through the audio. So if you press the K key and hit L, you will move forward at a slow rate. If you hold the K key and you hit J, you will move back at a slow rate. Those two keys can be very invaluable if you need to find something very precisely to place your edit. One other very important item is the crossfade, because some people will go ahead and they'll do editing. They'll have a click where the edit is, or there'll be something that just doesn't sound right. What's happening here, if you double click on content in the timeline, it'll break the video from the audio. So what I've done here, I have taken, and I'll undo this, I've taken the two pieces of audio that exactly line up with the video. What I'm doing is I am using the select key to move this about 1 second over the other clip. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to move it back out about 1 second. Then you'll notice that you have these crossfades fading in this clip at the same time that I'm fading that clip out. And the music should match, and this should be, it should be correct. Listen to your edits, write by your edits, but then you need to step back and you need to give yourself more space and more music to make sure that you didn't change a rhythm or something like that. Very often you'll make an edit and then you go back to it and like, oh, you know, you need more context to listen. So I think this is correct. Okay, that could be better, but for purposes, let's say that's perfect. The trim tool will allow you to roll two files on top of one another, and we'll see them demonstrated in multicam clips. The position, when I show you how to use multicam edits, those are critical because those allow you to physically move the different clips in an envelope on top of each other because they precisely have to align with one another and they have to precisely align with the audio. The range selection is very useful because let's say I just want to send this one edit to someone to listen to, okay? You know, you're working with someone. So basically, you just take this part of the edit and you've highlighted it. So then when you go to export the video, you are just exporting that as opposed to everything. Then the blade tool comes in very handy because it does exactly what you think. It allows you to just basically drop and cut. A very powerful tool in Final Cut is called the MultiCam clip. What the MultiCam clip is it's one envelope that can contain many different media sources. In this case, you can see I have one camera which I've labeled overhead, another camera which I have labeled side, my audio recorder which is in the cathedral, and then the pedal cam. Additionally, for later in the demonstration, I demonstrate a DSLR camera, then an iPhone. And all of this lives in one file, which can be taken to the timeline and can be edited as one source file. So this is the one source that combines the different cameras and the audio. And here I can do my editing. And then after that's done, I can flip back and forth at will to the different cameras and make fine adjustments as to where I want to switch cameras. Now I'm going to demonstrate making a very simple multicam clip. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select an audio source, and I am also going to select a video source. I hold down the Command key, I'll go up to New, make multicam clip. Do this AGO test, and it's important to use audio for synchronization. This works a lot of the time, and in this case I know it will, and I click OK. And now it's made a new file called AGO test. Now this is inside the envelope with two lanes, so we'll just make sure this is in sync with one another. Yes, it is in sync with one another. This is how I would select that this is the audio file, and this is how I would select that this is the monitor angle. There's a way that you can add another lane, if you will, inside the envelope, which is to add an angle. And now this has made another spot in there. And I'm just going to grab this. This is a shot with my iPhone. I don't know if this lines up or not. So I'm just going to drag and drop it in. So now I have another video angle in, and I could synchronize this as a second camera, and it'll all live in the envelope. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to delete this. We're going to go to the AGO test file that I made of the final project, and we're going to take the multicam clip and we're just going to add it to the end. So I take this, drop it there. So now this is living in the timeline, and you can do your editing here as I demonstrated earlier, and then let's say you have 3 or 4 cameras. Then you worry about the cameras later, and you can make very fine adjustments as you switch in between cameras, and this is a very good effect. And one thing that you'll notice with engagement with audiences is if you can switch in between cameras, you do a better job at keeping people from switching to the next video. You have different tools to move the files. So, as I'd mentioned, this is a select tool, and you use it very heavily in editing. But if you're trying to make an alignment of different files in the multicam clip, notice what happens. It just snaps right back. So this is what I had mentioned is a place where you use the position tool, because if you use the position tool and you move the file, then it stays where you left it. These files all need to be lined up very precisely so they're in sync with each other. And to do that, using keyboard shortcuts are more efficient. So the shortcuts you would use are the greater or less than symbols above the comma and above the period. And I'm going to hold the Shift key down, which actually moves it a greater amount. But when you're lining these up, you just want to use the greater than or less than. Next, I'm going to show you how you can switch camera angles in a multicam clip. This is a multicam clip right in front of you. And how you go about doing this is you go up to View, and then you go down to Show Viewer, and then you show Angles. So here you can see the green is defined as the audio. And right now, you're looking at the overhead camera. Now, what you end up doing is you have the blade as the default tool. And all that you do is as this plays, you just click. And when you click on a different angle, it will switch what's in the timeline. So let me demonstrate that. Okay, I think maybe we want to switch the pedal camera there. So I'm just going to click pedal. Okay. Okay. Now we were coming from the overhead, so let's go to the side camera now. Okay, so we have that little pedal theme coming in, but it repeats several times. So let it happen once there. But let's switch back to the overhead camera. I'm going to put the pedal switch in late so I can show you how you can modify it. Okay, so I'm going to put the pedal there. Oh, it's in too late. Well, we'll figure that out. So I'm going to switch back here to the side. I want to move these around. So the pedal came in. Okay, let's do it there. Now you have the rolling, you have the trim. I look at it as sort of a roller, but now that's automatically selected. And all that you have to do is I take that edit and I just move it right back there. Voila, done. Now let's see here. Okay, so let's jump here to the side. But I have the side coming up again. I don't want that. So I'm going to select that and I'm going to hit the delete key. I've just removed that camera switch. So now, let's go back, see where it would be interesting. Let's see, we'll put it there and then we'll move it back a little bit. Okay, so let's see how this all looks. Okay. And I'll put it in full frame. Final Cut makes it very easy to put titles and captions on your videos, which are necessary. You can see here I've already created one for the video I made for the AGO. And I usually like to pick lower third, and this is one that comes with Final Cut. You can buy additional titles from different sources online, but this works out very well. Additionally, you can see there's a gray box on it. I've done that because otherwise you can't really see the title, and that's fairly simple to do. So let me just show you. So right here, you have the lower third, okay? And all that you do is you just drag and drop it. I've just dragged and dropped it. Oops, I dragged and dropped the wrong one for the date and time. So I just go delete. Okay, so I grab it and I just drag and drop it. And I can move it wherever I want. Right? Then once it's selected, you either can click on it and then it will take you in the inspector. You can type text here or right on the video screen. So test, test. I'm not sure what else to write. Okay, then to make it easy to get to the next line, you can enter it here. You can basically hit the return and have another line. You can change the size, etc., using the different tools here in the inspector. Now, as far as the grayscale, that's something you can do very simply. You come down here, you have generators, you have solids, and I just take grayscale and I drag it and I drop it and I just put it there, and it just, you basically have layers. So, it's blocked out the entire video. Well, there's a way of dealing with that. You do a transformation, not a crop. And then you can just go ahead and resize it and just move it. And then further, you can go ahead and work on the opacity to change it. Then here in the end, I dropped a photograph in at the end. And this is something you can very simply do as well. It's a little more complex, but let me show you. Here, what I did was, to keep the sound intact, I just separated. Now here, what you can do, and let me just redo this. So I'm going to take that out, I'm going to take that out. So I can go ahead and I can bring that back out, or I can bring that in and have it be independent. And then I can go ahead and I can go back here and I can find my photographs and I can just drag and drop that in there. So I drag and drop that in there, and now I've moved the video back, but the audio is still staying there. And so basically when it gets there, it just switches. Now, one thing I have not touched on is there are cross fades. And what I had done there was I put a cross dissolve there. And you can change uh, the length of these, and it gives a very nice effect. So you don't have a hard switch.